for my fourth ranking, going upwards to best, I gave Loki.
Interesting.
Now you give me why, or you want me to give you?
No, I want to hear yours first. I'm having the same shock reaction right now.
I know you are.
Because I would never thought you would put it that low.
And when I literally broke it down, I was like, it was very hard, right? But it was little things why I ranked them in that order.
Okay.
And I thought Loki was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to see a glimpse of the big bad to come, right?
Oh, yeah.
I love the fact that we got variants. We got the TVA. We got the multiverse introduction, right? And we see what happens at the end with He Who Remains, right? The only one that remains is He Who Remains.
And not even the worst one yet. So
we got to see like smack dab in your face versions of 616, right? And we got to hear how they were talking about for Lokis are survivors, right? And to see all that, to witness them bringing Alioth from the comic book to the screen, right? Because we seen Alioth in the comics, that's just this poofy cloud, right? And we actually got to see Alioth in the show. When you are giving me this kind of content, it wows me, and it was great.
What about classic Loki?
I loved every element of that.
Phenomenal.
But I still rank the others higher because I were looking at the multiple moving pieces that was moving and how it tied together. And I felt like if you're going to give me, because keep in mind, every story we've gotten, there were little stories plugged from different places out of the comic books to give me one tapestry of art. Right? So we got this white canvas. And I felt like they did a great job with Loki, right? Because we got the TVA, right? And I remember when we first saw the trailer of Loki, which came out Super Bowl year before, right? I remember saying to some of my friends, "Oh, the TVA," and none of them know what the TVA was, right? At least some of my new fan friends didn't know, right? So, and then I said it to you, and you was like, TVA, I know. And the first thing we was like, Kang. Can't have a TVA without Kang.
Yep.
Right? And I remember saying it to Dr. Law, and he's like, yep. You know, all these big nerd friends that I have that's into pop culture and comics, that have been reading comics as many years as I have, we all knew what the TVA was, right? So we saw those things coming, and we automatically said, okay, if this thing line up with this to this to this to this, we must be getting this. And if we get that, that would be great, but is it too early to get that? And then we got that, right? But we got a version where he is telling you, listen, my variants are worse than I am. But I know you're going to kill me, right? The multiverse is going to go crazy. We're going to break into a wall, right? And we're going to be right back here again. And then at the end, we watch it happen, right? And it was beautifully done, but I don't feel like it was that strong as the others and why I chose.
Okay.
So I gave it number 4. Give me your number 4.
Okay. So, number 4. You went What If?
Is 5.
Then Loki.
Is 4.
So I actually already kind of stumbled into 4.
Okay.
Because I went Hawkeye, then What If.
Then What If. Okay.
So, yeah.
So we got your 4.
So that would be my number 4.
Okay. Give me your number 3.
So then my number 3 would have been Loki.
Okay. Okay.
And Loki surprised me, because I think I told you this off camera at one point. It was Loki. I went into it thinking it was going to be a Tom Hiddleston like fanboy fangirl show, because I know for one he loves the role, and I think that's awesome for one thing. Like if you get to be cast in a Marvel show of any nature, I would probably be like, yes, cast me in everything possible because I want to continue to be whatever character it may be. But I just didn't think there was going to be enough substance there. But when we found out the TVA was going to be there, I was like, oh, this could open up a lot of possibilities.
We got Mobius, Mobius.
Exactly. We got Mobius, we got Kang, And then I got excited. I know we had this conversation. We even had it when I think last time we had that big, pretty much Disney Plus, let's try to guess what's going to happen with the pretty much trajectory of these shows last time. We were saying, well, if we're going to get Kang, this means which versions of Kang we're going to get. And then that means at some point he's going to go back in time, and we might go get Sabanur, and this might set up mutants, and then that's where I think we all freaked out, and we're like, oh, we're going to get X-Men. Yeah. And I think at this point we know we're going to get X-Men.
We got it. So, we have to.
You know, those predictions we had back in the day, you heard them first here.
Yeah, and we're seeing them pan out.
You know, we're seeing them pan out. So I think that's where I had to put Loki at 3, because it surprised me in a lot of good ways.
Okay.
But it wasn't good enough to chip those top 2 that we're going to get to next.
Okay.
But yeah, Loki was a really good surprise ride.
Okay.
I know, seeing that we haven't hit Hawkeye in your rankings, it definitely peaked a lot higher.
yeah. And I'm gonna really. I'm curious. gonna flip you upside down now.
I'm curious. I'm really curious.
So, Loki's your number 3.
Yeah,
okay.
Loki's definitely 3.
My number 3 is WandaVision.
Okay.
The reason why I gave WandaVision number 3, as spectacular as it was, and this is why I felt like it was spectacular, right? We got to see Wanda Maximoff become the Scarlet Witch, right? And I remember way back when we did Rumors and Confirmations. I think we did that in 2019 when we did Rumors and Confirmations. I remember me, you, Codename, Comet, and Kitano was sitting at a table, and we were talking about all these things. And back then, some of them were theories, some of them were rumors. We didn't even know yet, but we were saying, hey, if this works, it will make sense to go here. And I remember saying, I believe in WandaVision, it's going to end with her becoming the Scarlet Witch, right? And we got to see her become the Scarlet Witch. The way they executed her becoming the Scarlet Witch. They gave us her back story, right? And it take her to go through that journey. And I've been saying this a long time. In everything that Wanda had been in before, Wanda was the catalyst that drove it, right? And it didn't even focus on her, but it focused on her. So the first time we see them, even though we get to see them in a post-credit, whatever first, the first time we get to see her is in Age of Ultron. And her and her brother, is the catalyst behind the Avengers, them having to stop them in Ultron. And in the midst of the story, they switch sides. The brother dies, she lives, and she joins the Avengers, right? Then in Civil War, she tries to save Captain America. And then once again, she's the catalyst behind everything that's driven, because her trying to do whatever, not being able to control her power and so on, she lost control and the explosion went off and people died. So they trying to keep on house arrest. Captain America is like, hey, this is wrong. She's a kid. What are you doing? Right? And again, she's the catalyst there that's driving the Civil War. Right? It ends with her getting arrested, but Cap came and he liberates her and Falcon. Right? And they go off and do secret missions or whatever. Right? Clint is left behind. Scott is left behind. They get put on house arrest with the ankle monitor or whatever, right? They deal with their stuff. But again, Wanda's in hiding. In Infinity War, her and her boyfriend just want to be together. Her and Vision want to be together, right? They can't, because now the children of Thanos is after them for the stone in Vision's head, right? So they go to Wakanda, and while she's in Wakanda, everybody get to see her really flex her abilities, right? She's on the field. She comes down, boom, does this, saves the day for a brief moment. But now her power is the only thing that can kill Vision or take the stone, remove the stone so Thanos can't get it. Time Stone, reverse that. So she now has to watch the man she loves die twice. By her hands and by this Titan's hand, right? She comes back at the end of Endgame to be the only one that could honestly go toe-to-toe and probably beat Thanos, right? But she gets cuts down because fire is rained from above, right? So we watch all these things happen, right? But we are not processing the fact that she still is without her dude. And it's in WandaVision where, you know, because she grew up and we saw what was happening with her as a child and, you know, these old TV shows where she learned to speak English and all of these things is what grounded her. So in the midst of her grief, when she causes what to happen in Westview, right? In that moment, her grief created an alternate reality. And her grief is caused by the magic in her that's awoken by chaos. Mm-hmm. And Agatha points all of this out, and she's like, your prophecy, or you are prophesied it in the Darkhold. Mm-hmm. So now we not only get Wanda, but we get an introduction of the MCU's Darkhold. Yep. And where the MCU Darkhold is concerned, you have all these mythical, godlike, dark creatures that are housed and talked about in the Darkhold. The birth of the vampires is in the Darkhold. Yep. And when you start thinking about that, right? And then we see the things that's coming down the line. For those who haven't watched Eternals, go watch Eternals. Yeah. Spoiler alert, post-credit scene. Mm-hmm. Right? And we get to see, or we get to hear.
We get to hear.
Right? The voice of Blade. Yep. Talking to Dane Whitman, who becomes the Black Knight. Right? Yep. So, in all of these things, and again, Marvel is over here playing chess. And they setting up these pieces, and we all know they play the long game. Right?
Very long game.
But as great as that was the first time we got to see what the Blickback looked like. Yep. Right? First time we got to see it. So we were like, oh wow, and it blew our minds, right? But there were still elements that were missing out of there, you know? And I felt like that's why I gave WandaVision my number 3.
Okay.
A.P.A.C.